What's up, Ken folks? We are back. My name is Derek Stewart, and I'm your host, along with my kinfolk Isaiah, and our special guest Eddie is joining us tonight to talk about this college football playoff selection committee today and how they went about selecting teams to be in this 12-team playoff rotation. There's a lot of controversy. This out already. The bloggers are talking about it. The sports pundits from ESPN on down to every social media platform that's out there. And we wanted to get into it tonight because we feel like we have to give you our take and our angles on what we saw when this selection committee picked these teams. And technically speaking, and I'm speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for Eddie or Isaiah right now, but I'm speaking for the controversy of 3 teams being inserted in there that I take issue with. And we'll talk about that. We're going to get down to the context, and we're going to unpack a lot of things about how this committee came about, or how we thought they came about trying to select these teams, especially these last few teams, because Notre Dame got left out. And by the way, I'm wearing a green tie, but I'm wearing a green bow tie in support of the University of Miami, not Notre Dame. I don't support Notre Dame's program. However, I do have respect for Notre Dame's program because they did everything they needed to do after those first 2 losses in the year, and they stayed in the top 10 a majority of the year, and now all of a sudden they're out of it. So we need to get into that. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We're going to bring you the best we got to bring to you tonight. And we got some excellent analysis on how we're going to be going about, getting to the bottom of some of this stuff, because I think it's actually, it's not good. It's not good at all for college football. It's not good for the student athletes who play this game. And I think it was a disservice to teams like Notre Dame that got left out, because I would have been okay if Notre Dame would have been inserted in, but somebody else had to come out, and somebody's always going to be unhappy. So let's go about introducing Isaiah. He's got his University of Miami gear on. Hey, by the way, guys, and I got Eddie here, and Eddie is with us with his University of Miami Canes hat on. Let's give the University of Miami a round of applause for being in this thing, because during the year, at the middle of the year, when they lost those 2 games, we were kind of a little bit thinking that they weren't going to make it in there. But Mario Cristobal instilled in his kids that, look, this is what we need to do. We need to just win out and let, fate take its own course. And that's what it did. And they every bit of deserve to be in this playoff, along with several other teams. Like I said, Notre Dame being one of them. So Isaiah, how the hell are you today? It was a great day, because Eddie said it earlier today, and he that touched my heart. It's a great day to be a Cane, right?
Yeah, it's always a good day to be a Cane, man. Win or lose, draw is a great time to be a Cane, man. Our team is thriving. They're poised, they're ready to go, they hyped, and I mean, I'm telling you, I really wanted a rematch with Notre Dame. That would have solved it all. Give them a good whooping this time and send them packing, because they're going to whine. They're going to be whining, man. Tomorrow, I can see it on all the networks crying like double clutching.
Well, what are they going to be crying about? They certainly can't be crying about Miami being in it. Or, am I right?
They're not going to cry about Miami. They're going to cry about them Crimson Tide, though. Losing 3 games and getting in there, man. It ain't no way in hell. Hell. They supposed to be in there. They supposed to be sitting home, tucked like the suit with their pillow, saying, we'll get them next year. And they snuck them guys in. Man, I told you, DC, it was all about the BBL, the conjunction sitting up in them seats. And they know that Alabama has a huge following. And that's why they got them in there, man. And it's shameful.
Absolutely.
Shameful. 3 games and you in a playoffs? Man,
playoffs? Are you talking about playoffs? We can all remember that press conference, right?
Boy.
They've had some historical press conferences, by the way. And to those who join us tonight, make sure you participate in the chat. We'll be more than happy to try to get to as many people as we can tonight. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Eddie. Eddie, how the hell are you feeling
Uh,
tonight, man? Is this a
my
good
God.
night or what?
Listen, first of all, thank you once again for having me here, and thank you for all you guys
Yes,
tuning
sir.
in.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
It's been it's been 2 weeks of of eating our nails and not knowing what was to come, right? And
Right.
of course, we have this beast of Notre Dame that is one of the darlings of college football. But isn't it nice that when you hear the Secretary of State tell the president of the country, if the committee doesn't make the right thing, you need to take it over next year. And it's not, I don't want to get political, but it's nice to hear that the brand, the U, is being mentioned up in the White House. So I think right there and then that's where I felt a little more comfortable knowing that we had a real chance of getting in. So today at 12:30 and they said Miami, my God, I went crazy. I went bananas, and my phone's starting to ring, and all my buddies they're locked and ready to go. They're heading to Texas A&M. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make that game, but I know we're going to come out victorious that Saturday noon in Texas, and for sure I will be there against the Ohio State University, and they owe us one. So
They're
looking
going to
forward
play
to
them
that.
at Ohio State if they advance, correct?
No, that's in Dallas.
That's going to be in Dallas. Okay.
Yeah, it's the Cotton Bowl.
Okay,
It's
that
the
will be in the Cotton Bowl. So that is at least it's a neutral site. I like that
Yeah.
idea of it being a neutral site rather
That's a big
it being a
bowl, too.
home game for Ohio State, because Ohio State to me is going to be a tough team to beat no matter who play them thereafter, because they got beat last night. Their kicker chipped that ball and it didn't go in. That kick didn't go in to tie that game, although last night's game was really a game that didn't mean anything other than just a trophy from the conference championship. So
DC, but that's been one of the biggest debate this past week. I mean, some people like you guys are not giving credit to the conference championship games, but I believe that any game that's on the schedule, they all count.
absolutely.
They all count. Yeah.
However,
so Bama losing 3 games, it's 3 games, bro, versus 2 teams. They lost twice against one team.
yeah.
So can you punish them for that? I don't know. It doesn't bother me seeing Bama inside. It bothers me more seeing James Madison and Tulane. No disrespect to
Well,
them and to their
we were
accomplishment,
going
but
to get to that because
yeah.
I didn't think neither one of those supposed to have been in either. But I just didn't like the fact that they rolled them guys back door after losing a game so late in the season. Usually, when you lose a game so late, they had already dropped 2 games during the course of the year, and then late in the season, just last week, they lost. So that right there should have sealed their fate, man. They should have had no chance of getting in because you can have Texas over there on the West Coast crying the river too because they lost 3 games and they're not in it. So they got a gripe. There's going to be a lot of teams tomorrow morning just going to be, you got to bring some Kleenex for them because they're going to be crying because they're not in. So it's going to cause a real huge amount of, social anxiety for most of these teams. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing that most matters. At the end of the day, Eddie did stress that any game that these teams have to play should be deemed important. However, the analytical data and the process that this committee used made it that way. It made it that these conference games were technically meaningless in a lot of ways, because if a conference game, if Ohio State lost last night and they still dropped 1 and they're playing in this 2 seed, I mean, how can a conference championship game have any weight on a committee when you got Alabama that lost by 3 touchdowns last night? They lost by 3. They got dominated, and then all of these people, especially the ones who support Alabama, are on TV saying, well, Alabama beat Georgia in the middle of the year. Okay, that was a head-to-head competition, but they didn't beat them last night. And that was when, if that's the fact, if it matters, they should have beat them last night to be able to stay in this thing, because they didn't move at all. They didn't move down, and that's where I have an issue at. right there.
But the other side of the token is Virginia Duke last night. Virginia wins that game last night. I don't know. I don't know if we're having this program today, smiling and laughing. You know.
Well, if Virginia would have won that game last night, it would have been a conference championship. More than likely, they would have considered Virginia over Miami. Miami wouldn't have been able to move up because they used BYU as a precursor to say, well, BYU lost again last night, and to the way they lost, it moved BYU down, which moved Miami up one, which put Miami right in the driver's seat to be able to get the call to be in this rotation. And that's, to me, it looked like the committee took two different ways of dealing with the process. They use head-to-head for some teams and scenarios, and then they use other data, like analytical data, saying that, well, these at-large teams like James Madison and Tulane had every right to have an opportunity to play in this rotation. So it's a lot of people, a lot of questions, a lot of, like Isaiah saying, that they're going to have a lot of Kleenexes tomorrow, because a lot of people are not going to be happy. And as far as it goes for these states, because a lot of states are going to get involved. And one thing I'm going to just say right now, and I'm not going to get into politics either, because that's not what our show is about. We don't need politics in sports. We don't need any more that's going on in sports now that's already in sports. Sports needs to stay sports. The politicians shouldn't have anything to do with making calls about who belongs in and who doesn't belong in. That's just my take on it. That's the way I'm looking at it from that perspective. And I don't know how much weight that had of getting Miami in. I thought Miami, had enough strength to get themselves in. No. They didn't need any politician threatening the CFP with whatever consequences that was going to happen. We don't need that. We just don't need that. We got too many other things going on in this country from my perspective of it. So you guys are ready to rock and roll with some of these topics, because we're going to get off to this first topic, and we're going to talk a little bit about, okay, the first part of this show, because I watched this show from start to finish. It was pretty simple. The second round, the bye week, that was pretty simple to slot those teams in, right? I mean, would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, that was the simple part of it.
Yeah, that was the most simple part of it. And I'm going to go ahead and stick this graph up right now to show our viewers what we're looking at. So Isaiah, I'm going to get your take on, okay, so when it got down to the last three teams, which is the James Madison and the Tulane, and then let's start out with talking about Alabama. I mean, why do you not think Alabama should have stayed in this thing? Because they didn't move, and they did get chosen. I mean, what would you think about that? What's your take on that?
Well, I see if Alabama would have lost by a field goal or extra point or something like that, I can kind of, I wouldn't even like that either, because they lost 3 games. But to lose by several touchdowns and still get in, not move the needle no way to kick them out the back door, I just thought it was unfair, man. I mean, there's plenty of other teams that lost 2 games that should have been worthy of that slot, and Alabama took it. Alabama is a force. They're going to bring a big, huge following, and whatever city they go in, there's going to be some enormous money being spent. They're going to have a bunch of their fans going to show up everywhere, and they're going to enjoy the town or whatever they're in. They're going to spend tons of money. And that's what I think was driven this part of them being in there. Otherwise, if they would have been just an average Joe that wins every now and then, that didn't have no huge following, they would have never made it in, man. So it's just this tradition of Alabama going in the postseason almost every year. They was worthy of it. Those saving years, they were quite worthy of it, because they would either lose 1 or 2 games, but to lose 3 and still get in after getting a rear end spanking the other day, they should have just packed their lockers up and got ready for the following season. They shouldn't be in this.
Or playing in just a regular bowl game, right? I mean,
Yeah. some of the ones who skipping a bowl game because they're not in and Alabama is in. So, yeah.
Okay, so Alabama's got to play Oklahoma. That can be a toss-up to me. I mean, I think Oklahoma's got a solid defense with John Mateer being a quarterback. I think their quarterback is really solid, and their offense is productive. I don't know how productive they will be against Alabama's defense. So, Eddie, I'm going to go to you and ask you the same thing I asked Isaiah. Where did we arrive at Alabama losing a game by 3 touchdowns last night, and they still in this thing? And I know I got an idea why they still in, and we'll go to that next.
Part of it, it's what exactly Isaiah said, but the other side is also that they have a pedigree, and exactly what Isaiah's mentioning about the following that they have and the viewership. At the end of the day, TV is what really brings the dollars, right?
Correct.
And that's what they're after. They're after exposure, and they want better competition. But with that said, to me, it hurts me more to see James Madison and Tulane get in. Alabama still is relevant. It's you have to respect the program and what they've done in the last 15 years in college football.
True.
So for me, that's the reason they get in. Their pedigree, right? The 2 losses, okay. The last one, 3 touchdown. FSU, we now know that it's a fraud. So that early loss, you can question it, but it could be, you get out slow out of the gate early in the year, and you get over it. So it doesn't bother me, Alabama being inside. It really doesn't. It bothers me more of, it hurts me to say that keeping Notre Dame outside of it, and USC or BYU or whichever other team you want to, that were close enough to get in, they should have gotten in, and it would have been better competition.
Yeah.
Again,
I think it would have been better, definitely, if Notre Dame would have been into this run, because Notre Dame has a solid team, man. I'm not going to take any credit away from what Marcus Freeman has done for that program,
When they lost their 2 games, DC, they won the rest of them straight, man. They won everything else. After the last game, when they lost 2, they came out and won every game afterwards, and they didn't make it. And Alabama just lost last week, and they're still in after losing 3. It's not cool.
And even from a competitive standpoint, even the games they lost, they were close games. They were very close games,
Yes, they were. Yep.
They were close games, but their strength of schedule also hurts them.
Well,
two of the top 3 teams they played, they lost to. So that leaves a question as well. I heard something this morning from one of the committee members of the CFP talking about how they emphasize more head-to-head competition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then opposed to how we are traditionally been accustomed of the margin of victories. So they don't punish you by how much you lost, which I guess this, Isaiah, right there answers your question about the 3 touchdown deficit that Bama had. But they give more strength to who you lose to than opposed to how much you lose to, right? And the person also admitted that yes, there's certain kicks that we need to work, that they're working on it. So hopefully they'll get it right in the future and not be in this ordeal that we've been in the past 2 weeks with Miami and Notre Dame.
Okay, so here's the thing, too, that was mentioned today. I know Kurt Herbstreit from ESPN, he mentioned that one of the solutions possibly to try to even get to solving some of this issue is to expand it to 16 teams. They expanded to 16 teams. They might not have come up with the problem that they came up with today, because Notre Dame would have been in for sure. Notre Dame and Miami would have been in, and Texas more than likely, if it would have been 16 teams.
And then teams that appear to be a powerhouse and they lost 3 games, it would have been more feasible for them to get in at a 16
in a 16-team rotation, correct?
Yeah. And I mean, I can understand that, but 12 and you lost 3 games, this don't sit well with me at all, man. I just don't like it at all. I mean, because here is Texas was smoking at the end, man. I was real tough little Manning over there, and he came through at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and finished up strong. And then of course they're not in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they're gonna probably be the ones complaining and crying tomorrow. Yeah.
Well, here's another angle that I took in my thought process to it is you have 5 SEC teams in this playoff rotation. Out of the 5, I would say 3 outright deserve to be there because they were either undefeated or they done lost 1 game. But when you have a team with 3 games that done lost 3 games that's in that same conference, I don't see why that could be where Alabama don't drop a little bit. They don't drop 1 slot. They sat still. And to me, the only thing I can think of that came to my mind is what you mentioned earlier, Isaiah, that it's BBLs in the seats. Yeah. Alabama travels with a super large following. I mean, with their travel, the fan base and everyone else, when they go somewhere, they bring a crowd of people. Unlike a lot of other teams. I mean, Notre Dame don't travel like that. I mean, their fan base don't travel like that, as far as I know, because it's not a really large school.
The home field.
Yeah,
they'll fill up their home stadium.
They'll fill up their home stadium, but when it comes to bowl games and people having to travel, to different cities to support them, I would probably go as far as to say 30 to 40% might do it. But I don't. Alabama, you're looking at 80 to 90+% of people that's going to be there, because I've seen Alabama when they came to Miami for those Orange Bowls. I've seen those SEC teams.
And to me, early too, DC.
Yes. Yeah, they'll come a week earlier and they'll stay in the hotels and they'll party and they'll do their thing, right?
Yeah, and they'll bring some of that good old venison from up there too.
Absolutely. So that's the issue that I take with a team with 3 losses being in there. I mean, and that could have been any team. It didn't necessarily have to be Alabama. I pull for Alabama. I've been pulling for Alabama for a long time, but what's right is right. And to me, what's wrong is wrong. And when you got a committee that they're looking at it from a revenue standpoint of view, from TV contractors, I think what really dinged Notre Dame, to be perfectly honest with you, is they do not belong to a conference, and they're not interested in being in a conference. Because they they don't have to share any TV revenue with anyone. Notre Dame has had a TV contract with NBC forever. Am I right, Eddie?
Yes,
that's correct. But that's only in football, because they do belong in the ACC and basketball.
In basketball and other sports, right? But in football,
football's the only one that had this independent. But getting back to your point, the true argument, the true discussion is: are we going to move forward with conference championships? Because again, we can't use them when we need them, and then criticize them when we want to. And you guys are punishing Bama for losing in a conference championship game, but Miami is in because Duke beats Virginia. So it's.
Well, I'm punishing Alabama for losing at Oklahoma, and I'm punishing Alabama for losing to Florida State, which you call a fraud, right? Because that was a competition that they should have won. And they started out the year just like Notre Dame did when they started out against Miami and they came up 3 points short, right? So
they were even threatening to fire the coach because of that loss.
Exactly. It's not necessarily the conference championship game I'm holding them accountable for. It's them first 2 games that they dumped, and they should have won those games. I mean, you have every reason and every way that you could think of that people were saying, well, Alabama, they lost that first one because Florida State was a fraud. But Florida State showed up, and they showed out, and they buried Alabama that day. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And that was a competition that they should have been ready to win, as far as I see.
We covered that game, and, man, Florida State just had their way with them. And now they're still in. It's just, I don't like it, man. That is ugly. No matter
and we both have family from Alabama. My family is from Southern Alabama. Isaiah's family is from Alabama. And let me tell you something. We follow Alabama. We support Alabama. I don't have anything against Alabama.
I'm not a fan of Alabama. I'm not a fan of no one except the University of Miami. But you got to respect what they've done, and it doesn't bother me them being in. It just doesn't bother me. You know, you lose against two teams, and okay, you have 3 losses, but against 2 teams, fine. You know, you always in a rematch, things are always different, right? I believe it was the early 2000s or mid 2000s when Miami faced FSU, and we blew them out in the regular season, and we faced them in the Orange Bowl, and we barely won.
Yeah.
We barely won. So rematches, you know the team better, and the outcome's not going to be the same. So I'm not going to punish them for that. So
Right.
I think that the topic is, or the discussion is, moving forward, do we keep the conference championship games? I say eliminate them, because not everyone has valid conference championship games opponents. And what we need to do is start reducing. There's no benefit in Miami playing Bethune-Cookman or the Florida A&Ms. Zero.
Mm-hmm.
You know, drop those schools and let's replace them with better competition. Because if the strength of schedules will match moving forward, I'm sorry?
I still want them to always play those HBCUs. It brings revenue to those schools. It brings a lot of guys who would normally won't see those games. I love those games. It's been a tradition. I don't want them to move a muscle when it comes to those schools.
You can
give everybody a chance to play a powerhouse team other than just playing the teams that's in the SWAC. Yeah.
Isaiah, but competition-wise, I get that. I get the financial part, and yes, I agree with you. I'm not against that. Maybe keep one on schedule, but not have multiple ones and have these lopsided victories. You know, Notre Dame beating Syracuse at the end of the year. I'm not saying that Syracuse is having a down year, that's all. But situations like that.
Well, I think all of the bigger teams, all of the top programs have those type of games. I'm looking at Alabama's schedule right now. What's Louisiana Monroe doing on their schedule? What is Eastern Illinois doing on their schedule? Huh?
They do. And some of them guys sometimes look up and kick their asses too. So don't forget about that.
Yeah. That's probably why they were thinking about these at-large conferences with James Madison and Tulane, although these two teams are not going to win these games that they're going to be up against. I'm just telling you right now, I'm willing to go out on the limb and tell you when James Madison show up at Oregon, it's just going to be a game that Oregon's going to take care of business with. That's the way I see that one. And Tulane and Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's not there anymore, but I still think Ole Miss is going to take care of business. I think they're going to get that handled. I don't know who else thinks that, but I do think Ole Miss will figure out a way to overcome Tulane. Because if you look at the strength of a lot of these teams, and, any given day, any team can lose, but I don't see these two teams that got in there today winning. Do you guys see them winning?
Well, I hope it's some prosperity for them, man, because even with the thing with Ole Miss, I wish they lose. They don't have Lane Kiffin there, and it's just in disarray. And they got in, and they're going to play. I just want them to lose. I just want the other team to prevail against them. So
why is that? Why would you want Mississippi to lose? I'm just curious, out of curiosity.
It's just a big mix-up over there between the way they handled stuff and the way he left. It was ugly, and they need to just go away. That whole circus with them just pissed me off because of it, man. And he left sleazy. He was a freaking whore the way he did it, and I wanted him to leave. That's all. But I don't even want to see his face, and I hope they lose next year too.
You're talking about LSU, right? Not Mississippi. Referring to
Mississippi to beat LSU next year, though.
Oh, they might. You don't know. But what I'm trying to still wrap my head around is Mississippi did everything right. Lane Kiffin was the one that caused all these problems, not Mississippi. The school gave him an extension on his contract to try to keep him there. They didn't do anything wrong. I wouldn't want to see him lose based on that, would you?
I understand that. What I'm saying to you is just that whole circus between the two. It was ugly, just the whole circus between the two. I feel like he did them wrong, but I'm just ready for that whole circus to go away for the year.
Well, it'll go away when they see Georgia, more likely. That's when I think it's going to go away.
you can't punish those kids twice.
Exactly. I mean, those kids at Mississippi, they work their butts off. I mean, to get to where they are.
I totally get what you're saying about the whole circus of what went down, but the kids have no fault. The kids have no fault. At the end of the day, these are kids. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I sympathize with the kids. That's part of I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the school itself and the coach. The kids I really feel sorry for because I think they got shafted. The kids really got shafted because when you sit and have a parent sit down with Lane Kiffin and he says he's going to be there for 4 years and these guys want to honor that and send their kids to the school and then he take off. That part right there is just sleazy because he did that this is why the season was going on. They ended up embarking on perhaps a championship, and he takes off. He's flying around all over the place. He went to Gainesville, he went to LSU, and ultimately signed with LSU. But it just was ugly in how he handled it, and now the kids are suffering for it. Yep.
Yeah, the kids are suffering because they got bamboozled into thinking that he was going to be there, like you just explained. And let me go backwards a little bit and go back to James Madison Tulane University. I don't have anything against those schools. Those schools that their kids played just as hard as kids in those Power 5 schools played. So from a standpoint of view that they belong in there, as far as at large conferences go, I think personally they should have one at large conference that however they want to pick that conference, whether it's a lottery or whatever it could be, needs to be added into this rotation, or unless they expand it to 16 teams. And then that'll take away some of the problems that we're seeing today, because it's not pretty the way things went down today. And James Madison, congratulations to them, and congratulations to Tulane.
But you know what I think going to happen to them? They're going to get beat down like TCU got beat a couple years ago when they allowed them to go in there against Georgia. They're going to get in there and get beat down. That's what's going to happen.
Well, the one I'm going to predict.
Tulane played Ole Miss earlier in the year, and they lost by 35 points.
Yeah, exactly.
35 points. They got blown out.
Yes.
I mean, Washington State was the biggest victory, and they won by 3. Washington State.
Yeah.
Last time I heard of them was what was the quarterback in the 90s?
For Tulane?
No, Washington State. Was it Drew Bledsoe?
Oh, you're talking about Drew Bledsoe. Yeah, he played for Washington State. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the last time I heard of them. That was in the 90s.
Yeah.
So Washington State is not.
That was
Well, Cam Ward was at Washington State before he got into the transfer portal as well.
Yeah.
Correct, he was.
Yeah, he came from Washington State, because I don't think he was recruited highly out of high school, and he was able to work his way in and get into Washington State, and he played well up in Washington State from what I could see from when I looked at it.
But the name was not a national brand like we made it.
He got smart and took off and came to the
exactly.
Yeah. So, let's move on to this next topic, and we'll stay on the same subject, because if you look at Indiana's game last night against Ohio State, that was a battle back and forth. I'm still not sold on Indiana as being the number one team that's going to win it all. Do you guys agree with me with that?
It just sounds weird to me. It just sounds weird because they're such a basketball school. Usually basketball take precedent over anything else over in Indiana. But if they number one right now, we'll see how it pans out in the rest of in a couple weeks. That's all it takes, a couple weeks to pass. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right now, I don't believe in one. I don't believe in no rankings. Right now, we're all invited to a party, and there's a cake at the end of the line, and it's whoever's standing last. That's what it counts. Right now, you throw all the rankings out, and let's play ball. That's my philosophy.
Yes, and it's a final deal. Once they make those decisions, once this committee makes those decisions, it's a closed case. They don't go backwards, and they don't even second guess what they've done when it comes to this. One thing is for sure is it'll reconcile itself when it gets into that second round to the quarterfinals. Because I think what's going to happen with the quarterfinals, if I'm looking at it correctly, Alabama is going to figure out a way to beat Oklahoma this next time around, because Oklahoma beat Alabama in the regular season. I suspect that Alabama is going to work their way and they're going to play Indiana. That's what I'm going to make a pick on that one. Oregon is going to advance and play Texas Tech for sure. Tulane is going to lose against Ole Miss, and Ole Miss will advance to play Georgia. And the University of Miami is going to handle Texas A&M. Let me be clear and let me repeat what I just said. Texas A&M is going to get handled at the line of scrimmage. And if it changes and something don't work out, I'll be the first to tell you that I predicted Miami is going to dominate this game. How do you guys feel about that?
You know, one thing that I like, I heard,
I was going to say,
today
I agree with you.
Isaiah, today all the cameras were on. All these teams had a viewing party to watch the committee selection, and University of Miami. No,
they didn't.
Nope. The kids will have a meeting tomorrow, and I think that's a great psychological tactic.
Look, yeah, that boost is going to be something else. DC and I was talking about that earlier, man. There was never, ever handed anything. And for us to get into this playoff, man, we really got to take advantage of it, the full advantage of it, man, because we have never got cut any slack on nothing like this. Mm-hmm. So listen, they really got to capitalize. Yeah.
If I'm Jason Taylor, I'm in Ruben Bain's ear and saying, buddy, you want to be a top 10 pick in the NFL? You got 4 games to prove it.
You got to show up and show out for 4 games. You got 4 games
to prove it, and this is it. You got to let the dog out. Let the dog out. And DC, I love your prediction. We have to walk in there, slap them in the face, steal their lunch, and say goodbye.
It's going to be at the line of scrimmage, too, because at that defensive line of scrimmage with Ruben Bain and Mesidor and all those kids, and those that linebacker core are some headhunters, boy, for Miami. And them safeties. Yeah. I mean, I like the way they play as well. So Miami's got a lot of reinforcement that I think they're going to bring to Texas A&M. And I'm going to just say this lastly. If Texas A&M can't run the ball, they're in a heap of trouble if they can't run the ball. And I don't see them running the ball successfully.
Well, our concern is mainly on the quarterback.
Marcel Reed, right?
Yeah, correct. If we can contain him, we'll be fine.
Well, Texas didn't have any problems containing him. He was running for his life.
Yeah.
And Texas was physical with them guys. You got to get physical with a team like that and let them know that, you know what, if you take the risk and you run, you're going to be punished for it. You're going to think twice about running it again. Because if you get the right guy to come along or the right group that could come along and they can lay that wood on you, you will think, Marcel Reed would think twice before he take off running. And that's something that, you know, Miami's defense is going to be, you know, they're going to be all over it, I think, personally.
Okay. Just ask Notre Dame what happened to their Heisman candidate running back when he came down.
Know, I think Art Manning had a really good game against him, and I think Beck will have the same type of game with him.
They're going to have to keep him clean back in the pocket, which Miami's offensive line will do. I mean, he's going to have to stay clean in that pocket.
Throw the ball to DC, so I'm real confident about this game.
Yeah. I mean, because at the end of the day, we're trying to advance to play Ohio State and get past Ohio State into that national championship game. And that's going to be the ticket. Or face Georgia, because that's probably more than likely who going to advance forward to the national championship, or Miami from the division that Miami's playing from, right? The playoff semifinals. It looks like Miami and Ohio State will end up playing the winner of the winner from the Georgia game, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
I would rather play Ohio State. If it was my preference, I'd rather play Ohio State than Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, we all agree on that one. I don't have any problem with that at all. you know, because
I feel Ohio State is wounded right now, DC.
well, I wouldn't. I would. Hey, you know what
Measure.
they say about a wounded animal, right?
Yeah, he'll holler and keep running, damn
No, you got it mixed up. You got it. I think you got it the other way around when you got a wounded animal and one that could really fight. That's the most dangerous element of it, right?
Now you keep putting that thing on him, he'll start running.
Yeah, it's kind of like a boxing match, right?
On a Sunday evening.
Yeah, Corey Heatherman, man, he's done a phenomenal job at University of Miami since he's been there. The defensive coordinator, and then he's got that reinforcement from Jason Taylor, and he's got those other position coaches that's playing, and they're gonna have Playmaker there, because once Playmaker, he's the biggest cheerleader Miami could have anywhere in the country.
He's so animated, he made me laugh when he's out there, man.
He brings some serious excitement to that.
I love the time that he brings on the sideline. I love how if a player does something wrong, he's right there picking him up.
Yeah.
Telling him to move on, and if he makes a hell of a catch or anything spectacular, he's also there patting him. So I like that. That's what the Playmaker's all about.
Exactly.
It's so beautiful to see him out there because he's one of the best of, Miami Hurricanes ever had on their squad throughout the years. And then for him to be out there giving back like that, he's more of an asset than Sebastian out there, man, because
absolutely
he just know how to relate to the kids, man. And he bring all that joy in the game too, man. And then he hugged the guys and telling them about the times when he played and all that stuff, man, and they can look back at those films and see what he used to do, man. And he was always like that even when he played. He was always hyping the team up.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. He's a motivator.
He's what every pro should be. Never lose that kid that enjoys playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he is. But he's a professional at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
So
let's have fun, but kick butt.
Kick butt. That's what it's all about. Work hard and play later, right? But you play hard and you work hard, play hard, and then you enjoy all of the benefits like those Miami teams of the past, from what I could see. So let me go back into the context of this thing. The 12-team rotation was supposed to solve this, correct? Because they had 8 teams last year. So who's to say if they were to advance it to 16, would that solve the problem? I don't think it will. I really don't.
You reduce the quality of competition. You reduce the quality of competition. Then the James Madison and Tulanes of the world, they will be getting in every year. So you're going to have basically 2 or 3 teams playing cupcakes.
Right.
Yeah, 12 is max, no more than 12. I hope they keep it that way. What they should do is eliminate the conference championships, let everyone play equal amount of games, improve the strength of schedule, and by the end of the year, we should know if you deserve it or not. And if you're left out, you're left out. That's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you lose 3 games, you're out of gas. That's how it should be.
Well, that should be a prerequisite right there. I mean, at some point in time, they need to figure out how to combine a team's record, because if you look at it here, it says strong record, quality wins, tough schedule, early season loss that they bounce back from. And I heard the chairman of the committee today, and he's the athletic director at Arkansas, because they have a bunch of people from around the country from these schools, administrators, athletic directors, people who are involved on this committee. And he said that he told the committee to watch that Miami Notre Dame game again, because they were at a deadlock on which one of these teams should have been invited to this series. So when they said that they watched that game again and how Miami controlled that game pretty much throughout the game, although it was a 3-point game difference, they shut down Notre Dame's run. Notre Dame couldn't do much of anything. That's kind of what triggered them to think that BYU took a drop, Miami went up, and there was no space for Notre Dame with Alabama not being moved down any. Does that make sense?
What frustrated me is that they kept excusing Notre Dame losing the opening game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hell, Miami had a first-year starter who was coming off a major injury, who was limited in the offseason in workouts, and that's our starting quarterback.
Right.
No one mentioned that. And we still beat you. And had we played better offensively in that game, it would have been a blowout. Because defensively, we had them frustrated the entire game.
Yeah.
They only had, I believe
because we clearly shut their running game down. They had absolutely no running game.
Yeah, we controlled them. It's just offensively, we couldn't pass the ball as good as we have now towards the end of the year. So I don't understand why, you're going to bring up that it's the first game of the year, but yet quarterback, first-year starter again, coming off major injury, and we beat you.
So when it comes to talking about team resumes, what would you guys' criteria be with the resume itself? Because I know Isaiah has re-stressed over and over again that you shouldn't be able to be in it if you've lost 3 games, especially in that Power 5 in those conferences.
For me, it's a strength of schedule.
Okay.
Strength of schedule. If you have a strong strength of schedule, a head-to-head, and you win, you're in.
How about you, Isaiah?
Well, you know my take on it. I just feel like if you lose 3 games, there's no way. That strength of schedule makes a lot of sense, but losing 3, that's out of the door. I mean, no matter who you play throughout the season, but you lost 3 games, and then you got so many teams that lost 1 or 2, and they're outside looking in. They're going to be complaining. So I just think that committee need to just do away with all of this stuff and just pick the best 12 and let them fight it out to the championship. Yeah.
Isaiah, are you for it in keeping the conference championship games, or are you okay by letting them go?
They're fluctuating with it, Eddie. I mean, I think they need to get rid of it. No, the conference game, they need to just get rid of those. Conference games, just get rid of the conference games. Because it's causing more confusion than good.
So the conference games should be eliminated is what you guys are saying. The conference championship games.
I think it should be.
Okay.
Just eliminate the conference game, because just look at what we're saying with Alabama. Just say they lost 2 games, and then you don't even have nothing to do with the conference, because the conference can hurt them ultimately sometimes. I mean, that's what they wind up judging some of this stuff on, is the conference game. So you get rid of that, just look at the schedule as a whole, and then just let them play from there.
I think next year, because of what we just went through, you're going to have teams that the same way they're going to refuse in playing in bowl games. They're going to refuse to go to conference championship games because it can hurt them. I mean, look, Isaiah today is criticizing Bama for losing their conference championship game.
Yep.
I'm criticizing them too. I'm on Isaiah's side with that one. I'm criticizing them as well, because they should have. Listen, they played Georgia in the regular season. You don't get beat by 3 touchdowns in no conference championship game and want respect after that, in my opinion. If there would have been a 3-point game or maybe even a 10-point game, I have some sympathy for them. But I don't have any sympathy for them the way they got handled last night, because one thing about Kirby Smart is they took a beat down.
3 touchdowns, a beat down.
So I'm on Eddie. I'm on Isaiah's side with that one. Trust me.
Okay.
So here's one of our commenters, and his name is Todd Log, I believe. He says, "You're really comparing Carson Beck to a guy playing his first game of the year." So I mean, that's just something that we believe that Carson Beck was coming off of an injury when he suffered that injury at Georgia, and when he got into the transfer portal and when he got back with Miami, he was ready to go. And I have to agree with that.
We understand something too, DC. You talking about Carson Beck coming into a whole new system too,
and that is an excellent point. He's in a completely different system than he was at Georgia. So in his first game to perform against Notre Dame like he did, I agree. I think he did a very good job. Being on an altogether different team in terms of the offense and the way that they do things. Now, here's another one. It's crazy, and Miami should have been in. Other teams get rewarded for winning their conference game, but you can't punish them. This is from Scotting88, and he says, such hypocrisy. BYU got punished. Everyone got rewarded or punished. It's a 1-point loss.
Exactly. That's my point. And you can't choose who to reward and who to punish.
Correct.
I mean, we're in because Virginia loses against Duke. Virginia wins last night. We're not in. We're not in.
Well, you have to congratulate Manny Diaz, too, for what he's done at Duke. Manny Diaz is winning there, and he has made that into a very well-respected program. They were winning before Diaz got there, but Diaz had those kids dialed up. I watched a little bit of that game last night, and that defense that Duke had and that quarterback, Mensah, he's solid as a rock.
Yeah, I like that quarterback a lot.
Yeah, he's solid as a rock.
Going back to what the viewership said, Carson Beck did not have an active offseason coming into Miami. He was rehabilitating his injury. He was limited in the offseason. That guy picked up a football 6 weeks before we started the season. We don't know what we had.
So it was just like he's brand new. He was just brand new. He was brand new.
The coaching staff didn't know what they had until they saw him play against Notre Dame. Okay? And to rely on a 17-year-old receiver? Come on.
He was throwing strikes to him, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these are two freshman receivers, too, on top of that. It's definitely worth mentioning. I believe that, and as far as BYU goes, BYU has got a solid team. They don't make mistakes. They're very well disciplined. They're very well coached. The coach, who coaches Sataki, Kalani Sataki, he's a super, super good coach. And BYU has been that way as far back as I remember when Lavelle Edwards was there. Lavelle Edwards he's legendary in college football. From a little tiny school in Provo, Utah, these kids, they don't get recruited out of these cities like all of these other schools do. They have a selected amount of places that they go and they get kids and they bring them in there and they turn 3 stars into 4 stars. So I have all the love in the world and respect in the world for BYU. It's just that they ran into a buzzsaw against Texas Tech twice. Not once, twice. And if you put them up against Texas Tech again, it would be a triple spanking. Trust me. Because you got to look at the level of talent versus the talent that a team like BYU has. And if you get a team like Texas Tech or any other team that don't make mistakes just like BYU, they don't make mistakes, and they have that superiority and that athletic talent, guess what? You're going to come up short. That's the way I look at that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a 1-point loss. I agree.
One thing I enjoyed about watching BYU, they just so well disciplined. They're not that talented, but they're disciplined, man. And they capitalize off of your mistakes, too. So if you go down there and fumble a ball or jump off sides or whatever the case may be, they always turn that into some type of 3 points or a touchdown or something like that because they're well coached and well disciplined, but they just will get beat by any powerhouse team that has more talent. Especially these teams.
They are creative and aggressive on defense, and they are fun to watch, and they've always been.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been that way since the 80s when Lavelle Edwards was there coaching them. He is one of them coaches that you never hear his name mentioned, but he is one of the best coaches in the history of college football as far as I'm concerned. Yep. So here's another one too. Do you think that, let me just rephrase what I'm getting ready to say, and I'm getting ready to be very honest and upfront with everyone who's watching this show. Revenue drove probably 80 to 90% of the decisions. They're not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you that teams like Alabama is going to bring tons of money more than these smaller schools. They're not going to tell you that teams like Ohio State and teams like Georgia and all of those SEC and Big Ten teams bring to the table. A lot of it is BBLs and revenue. What do you guys think about that?
Absolutely, DC. That makes it all, man. These other two teams that they throw in on the back end, they just did that for fun. Because the rest of those teams that's sitting there are going to bring a following, and they're going to have some money. It's going to be cha-ching, cha-ching.
Cha-ching, cha-ching, yep. Cha-ching, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that pretty much wraps up everything. I just wanted to get to some of the points that I saw today. And they had so many people that was, Nick Saban even gave his input on it. And part of this thing, especially with this transfer portal and with this NIL and stuff, that kind of made Nick Saban want to take an early out. He didn't want to deal with all of that on top of having to deal with this selection type of process, because there is flaws in the process. The process has got major flaws about how they mix analytics in and how they justify certain teams getting in and certain teams not getting in. Would you guys agree with that as well?
I agree with part of what you're saying. And the reason why I agree with part of what you're saying, Nick Saban did not leave this place because of the selection. Now,
he left because of the NIL and the transfer portal, right?
Yes, because he's looking at something like this. If you go into a parent's home and you go out and acquire a kid, and you think he's going to be there for 4 years, and chances are he's not. Now, when you're talking about this selection, look what just happened. He always got the selection. He's not even there, and they got the nod to continue the postseason. So that part I don't agree with you on. But Nick Saban left because he left out on good terms. He's got a great job now. It's less stressful. He's parading around the country and doing something that he loves, man. And he's still got a hold on that team. And I guarantee you that. I mean, he blessed the coach that's there now. If it wasn't for his blessing, that coach won't be there, man. And you just look at that first game they lost to Florida State, DC. They was ready to kick him out to the curb, man.
Kalen DeBoer, yeah.
Yes, Kalen DeBoer was getting ready to get kicked to the curb, man. And Nick Saban told, settle down, give him an opportunity. And he won, a handful of games. And then at the rear end of the season, he just lost a couple weeks ago. But look, he's still in the same place he would have been if he would have been undefeated, going to the postseason.
That's right.
So that's what we're talking about.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you some grades here on transparency. It looks like that's an F. And this refers to the committee, because the transparency portion of it to me is very important. Consistency, I would say a F. I'm not giving them high marks because they skipped and they hopped and they jumped and they moved around with the analytics and how they tried to justify how certain teams belong in there and how other teams didn't. That's why I wouldn't give them high scores for anything. What would you guys give them overall for a grade?
Well, I'm giving an F across the board.
Yes.
Because what you're saying is true. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, DC, just up until last night, Notre Dame was in this rotation. Man.
They were number 9. They were in the top 10 the whole season, almost nearly the whole season. How do they not end up in the playoff? And trust me, I don't follow Notre Dame, but Notre Dame, they're shortchanging Notre Dame's kids. Now, I'm not talking about Marcus Freeman. I'm not talking about Notre Dame's athletic director. I'm not talking about the faithful for Notre Dame. They are shortchanging those kids who played their hearts out for Notre Dame on their field. They took the field, they played those games, and then they get shortchanged and left out for whatever reason. So I agree. F across the board. Transparency, consistency, fairness, clarity, the whole 9 yards.
DC, not only that you're saying that they shortchange the kids, and that's for real, because they actually shortchanged their season. Because if they opt out this bowl game, their season is over, man.
Yes.
That's it.
They took Notre Dame's season, in other words, with that decision today, and they told Notre Dame your season didn't mean nothing to us. Didn't mean what I was getting ready to say. I ain't gonna say it, but
they don't mean
they threw it in the garbage can, which is shameful. Shame on that committee. Shame on everything about them.
That's what they get for their arrogance of being independent. So there's a price to pay.
Well, that's true.
That's the price to pay. So if we're talking about, you asked the question of what grades or how do we see the process of the committee? At the end of the day, we're in a better place today in college football than we were 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
That I do agree with.
That part I agree as well.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Now, they created attention. There's major attention now to watch all these games to see how is it going to play out. So they did their job. Their job is to create interest. Their job is to create interest and attention to the kids and the games. They've done it. What's the purpose of making money? Let's not forget.
It's all about money. That's what I just stressed. That it generates the revenue of getting the BBLs in the seat. But here's my pushback on what you just said, Eddie. You can't punish Notre Dame for being independent. Why would the committee punish them for being an independent? That to me doesn't make any sense. Notre Dame has been independent for 40, 50, 60 years, and they've never had this problem, right?
It's the same reason that every private school is going to have forever.
The
USCs, the Miamis, the Notre Dames, we're small little private schools.
That's right.
Competing against these state giants of Florida and Florida State. Okay, same reason. Is when we win, we don't have to split the pie. We can negotiate how much we're going to share, but we don't have to split the pie. As opposed to all these state schools, guess what? When they win, they have to give it up. They have to. So at the end of the day, they'd rather deal with the state schools than private schools. How many private schools do we have today in college football playoff?
Yeah, and Eddie, while we're talking about that, those private schools do not have the following as these massive state schools either.
True.
Yes,
and those BBLs don't follow as much.
We move the needle where it counts, which is the TV revenues, and that's what brings in the big money. Don't get it twisted. These games are not going to be 3 hours. These games are going to be 4 hours.
Yeah, they're going to drag them to 4 hours.
Correct. Yeah, almost 4 hours.
Well,
Miami plays the first game at noon. The second game is at 3:30. So kickoff should be around 3:45, 4 o'clock. That gives you about a 4 hour window for each game. That's more TV revenues. That's where the big money comes in.
Exactly.
So Notre Dame, I think they get punished for that. As the SEC gets applauded for being the best conference, they have the biggest TV deal. They're the darlings of college football.
Well, we can get into a wider conversation about this, because if you look at conferences like the SEC and like the Big Ten, they have monopolized college football. Those two conferences alone have literally monopolized college football with these TV contracts. So to be able to count against Notre Dame that they're independent in football and that they should consider joining a conference, I highly doubt that they will. I don't think, especially now, I don't think they're going to join a conference because they're going to continue.
They've been too successful.
They've been too successful without having to join a conference. And you got the SEC and you got the Big Ten running around scooping up all the schools. Why are these West Coast schools playing in the Big Ten? Because of the TV contract. They're traveling 6 hours across country both ways. Penn State, any of those schools on the East Coast, Michigan State, they're traveling 6 hours at the expense of these kids so that they can get a massive TV contract so they can monopolize everything in college football and have complete control of everything. At least Notre Dame is going to control their own destiny with that, I think. when you say?
No, no. Listen. I believe, and it's been talked about it. The future of college football is going to be 2 power conferences. Simple as that.
That's what it looks like.
That's where we're heading. That's where we're heading. I think in 5 or 6 years, that's where we're going to be. We're going to be 2 power conferences. Eliminate all this craziness that we just went through, and let the kids decide on the field who's the best at the end of the game.
Well, I think it's going to be a lot of litigation behind that, because all of these schools that are bolting to go to these 2 conferences, and what about the Big 12? You think they're going to last? I mean, you got good teams in the Big 12. You got the Utahs and the Arizona States. All those teams are in the Big 12. Is the Big 12 going to be absorbed into the SEC or the Big 10? Is that going to happen? That's a great question. Yeah. And that's what's going to happen. And who knows in the future? There's probably going to be litigation to challenge these 2 conferences monopolizing everything. We'll see. We'll wait and see.
ESPN, which is owned by Disney World, right now controls college football TV.
Right.
Fox came into the game maybe 5 years ago. They're putting a dent. They're putting a dent into it. So these two powerhouses are gonna somehow work something out and create it.
We'll see.
But that's our future.
Absolutely. So last but not least, I'm gonna leave it at this. Notre Dame got robbed. They got robbed, and it's just no excuse for them not to be in it. I don't know how you guys really kind of feel about Notre Dame, but today Notre Dame should have been in this playoff, and I'm gonna just leave it at that, and we'll kind of start to close the show down. You guys got anything?
As a true Hurricane, I'm not sad.
Of course.
All I can say is
I don't sympathize with them from that perspective. I don't.
Yeah. At all.
Hey, better them than us.
True. Now that's a very, very good way to state it, Isaiah. Better them than us. I agree. Because when they mentioned Miami today, I jumped up and down. I'm going to tell you, I was right in front of the TV, and I was so happy.
That, man. Oh my God, I was thrilled.
I was ecstatic.
When it comes to us, there's always be something.
I texted you guys and I sent you a picture of celebrating.
I was already glued into it, Daddy.
Absolutely. So, Eddie, here's the deal. If they advance, it's not an if in it. When Miami advances to play Ohio State in Dallas, is there a possibility that all 3 of us can get together and meet in Dallas? Maybe.
You let me know. We have until tomorrow. I'm putting in the petition for all the rounds except for the first one. My buddy's already taking care of that. I can't make the first game, but I can make every single game after that. So I'm putting in a petition for the tickets. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I'll be looking forward to being at a game like that, because we got to be there in full support of the University of Miami. That's where it's at. we support the Canes, and we're gonna be there. And I'd be very happy to be there. Dallas is not that far from Los Angeles, so we meet halfway. From the country, from coming from Miami and coming from LA. I think that would be very reasonable to think about that. So
Isaiah, there's a great barbecue spot right outside of what's it called? Oh my God, the best banana pudding I've ever had.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I've been to Dallas a couple of times myself.
Man, how good that stuff was over there.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and start to wrap this show up. We really enjoyed talking about this particular show today with the selection committee show, because we just thought it was just we had to bring out what we thought about it, and we wanted to get that out there to everybody. We enjoyed it. We thank you for the people who did come aboard and visit us, especially in the chat box. It looks like we have another viewer that said Notre Dame got snubbed. I totally agree with you. So we'll shut this thing down, and we will go to Isaiah for a closeout. What do you have for us, Isaiah, and what are you looking forward to?
Well, I'm looking forward to go and win it all, man. And I just feel bad that Notre Dame is for the bowl game because I think it's doing these kids a disservice because it's an untimely, you know, the completion of their this season for these children, man. And you know, a kid acquire or go to a team, and they just think about the first day coming to this school, university, to play their careers out, and not ever having the mind frame of I'm gonna get my season cut short politically, you know, or some controversial type of deal what happened to them this today in fact. But you know, I just wish all the teams luck. My U gonna do their thing. I know they're gonna go over there and take care of business. Our guys are focused. But then again, I just want to mention this thing about this show, this DC Stewart Show. Is on fire, man. I
It's
want you
on
guys to
fire.
continue to watch us, man, and it's doing well. I'm glad to always have Eddie on. He wouldn't bring his expertise
Oh
and
yeah, for sure.
his ass is biased just like I am when it comes to you, man. So, man, we're sitting there on pins and needles today. DC and I was talking all morning and get that text from Eddie today. Man, I was almost doing like these punches that Tyson used to do just before he go to a fight, just before he throw up that towel. Man, I was so thrilled to see this thing because it's been like this controversial thing all week, and it was tugging at like the country. You know, I've never seen that many people supporting of the University of Miami on just almost every network. Man, it was pulling for us because they've seen the last couple games where our team and the coaches and the staff and the university had done such a superb job coaching these kids to get them up to play these games and for them to fulfill the rest of this season in a powerful fashion, man, and to see the support of so many people, and then watching like one of the morning shows where the head coach for Notre Dame was on, and he was talking about the season and how he just won out after his first two losses, and it was like really thrillful to just hear him talk about that. And he was sitting there with all of the people that was interviewing him, and it sounded great because you take a guy who played the game and then ultimately get an opportunity to coach a team that you know he was given, and because of the student body, they wanted him there, and
Mm-hmm.
the team wanted him there, and they gave him the job, and he's been successful, man. When people didn't think he could handle that type of pressure for a team that big, because that was his first head coaching job, from what I understood, and he's
Mm-hmm.
doing a great job. But when it comes to this stuff right now, man, it's all about this because we kicked his ass. So good luck. He had a great season, but now we getting ready to move on, man. And you
Absolutely.
guys, thanks for watching the show. Thanks for supporting us. Tell your friends, your family, your relatives to come on back and watch us. We're here.
Absolutely.
Yes.
How about you, Eddie?
I want to second Isaiah. I want to congratulate all the schools that got in. The Notre Dame, I hope that it was a decision based from the kids, not an administrative decision. If it was an administrative decision, it's a horrible call. A lot of these kids, they will never again play football, and this is the end of of a dream of a kid.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's what we forget. That's what we forget always, right? That
Yeah.
we all started playing whatever sport we played as a kid because we loved it, because it was the way of getting together with friends, family, and creating new friendship that turn into family. And that's the beauty of sports. Isaiah, you play college ball, so you should know more and how this brotherhood is, right?
Yes, it is a
And in this
brotherhood.
brotherhood,
That's for sure.
now I have to get
Yep.
into it's a brotherhood
The tight
because
bond, man.
you're going to battle, and I don't
Yeah.
like to use the word battle because that's, but you're going into guys are together helping to build that better player, that better person for every weekend, right?
That's right.
So University of Miami, a small little school that in the last 20 years has been through so much from a sports administrator's part. We're not going to get into details. So to be back now and playing among the big boys, when I heard today University of Miami, and I get goosebumps talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand what Isaah just said, that you felt like a fighter walk, that ring walk when they're going up to fight. I get that, because it's a beautiful thing to be a Miami Hurricane, to see our Kings back and having a chance to play for a championship eventually, hopefully. So it's a beautiful day today, and looking forward to this playoff. It was a great novel, or whatever you want to call it, this past 2 weeks, and to get Nick Saban to support us, Alex Smith to support us. I mean, the celebrities that came out in favor of University of Miami to be in college football playoff, it tells you that we're more than a school. We are a brand. We are a brand, like Notre Dame
no doubt.
And sorry, not sorry, but enjoy your vacation, and let's go Canes, baby. So
absolutely. I have to second that, Eddie, to congratulations to all of the schools that got selected today, and all of the college football programs that are out there, the ones that didn't get into this selection, of this playoff alignment today. You got to get hats off to everyone who came out and played your hearts out every week in, week out. You went to practice. You went to spring practice before the season started. You went to summer practice, and then you got into the regular season. You got to take your hats off to these kids. Congratulations to the James Madisons of the world and the Tulanes of the world, because they are playing with the big boys now. So we'll see what the outcomes are going to be. And we will definitely continue to bring you the topics that's associated with this college football playoff, along with, other things that we're going to be talking about as well. And we'll bring back some NFL in our next show, and we'll go from there. So take care of yourself. Make sure you subscribe to us. We got every social media platform out there now. We have Substack too. So for anyone who's interested in visiting us over at Substack, that's a platform as well. We have videos and we have articles over at Substack as well. So thank you for joining us once again. I'm Derek Stewart, your host, along with McKinfolk Isaah and McKinfolk Eddie. I tell you what, man, it's been a beautiful day in paradise, and I know I'm going to sleep well tonight. And just think about the game up until we play Texas A&M. So take care, peace, love, and prosperity. Take it easy.